Hey Scott, let me see if I can help you get your class set up. So the first thing obviously is you'll log into NWEA and your site's going to look slightly different from mine, but you should be able to get to everything I can get to. So you're going to manage test sessions, and once in there, you'll say find students to test. And in this next section, you'll have some defaults. Like one of them should be OVS. I have all of the schools here. So you'll go to Olathe Virtual, and you can probably skip the all grades unless you do have a grade pure class, which I don't think you do. And then it also should be just your default name, and then you can choose the class that you want to work from, or just keep it as all classes, and then that will give you everybody. Okay, and then what you'll do is at this point, just hit search, and then it will bring up all of your students. Oh, ignore that. That's just my Surface doing something weird. Okay, so here's all of our students, and you can see that you've got a couple of pages of them, obviously, but we can just add all of them. Or you could select the ones that you want to save or that you want to add to a test session. Okay, so here's your list of students. And what you'll do is let's say that you have a collection of them, and I'm just making this up. So let's say that these first three are all going to come in and they're going to take the Algebra 1 assessment. So then you would go to assign test, and then there's a drop down here, and you'll see that Algebra 1, there's two choices. There's the Common Core, and then there's one that's called Accessible. The Accessible is for the visually impaired, so do not choose that unless you have the visually impaired. Everything else will be real big in the screen, and it will be a lot of scroll barring around for students. So just take the Algebra 1 test or the Algebra 2 or the geometry that does not say accessible. So that's now the test I'm going to assign to everybody. So then I just hit assign, and you give it a second, and then you'll see over here on test assign, those are the ones that you want. And then let's say that the next four kids, and I got to turn these guys off, but the next four are going to take, let's say in this case, the geometry test. And again, don't choose accessible. And then that's the right one. Hit assign. And then you'll see that you've got some students with geometry and some with Algebra 1. The other thing that you guys did not ask me about this morning that might be important is, let's say that your first student here needs some text read to them. So then I can go up here to assign accommodations. So to click them on and then go to assign accommodations. And most of these you can ignore because that's all if we wanted to look at something in the reporting. But here are the designated features for some students. You have text to speech, and then you can activate which ones you want. So maybe it's answer choices, question directions, and the question prompts, right? They need a lot of assistance. And then I hit assign, and you'll see over here on the far right that under accommodations, there's a yes now that you have set them up as accommodations. Key part here is that if anybody needs accommodations, it has to be done at the beginning before you launch the test. Okay. So at this point, then you can continue to add different tests to different kids. In fact, let's say that you have this David Brox, and you're going to assign a test, and he's not even one of yours, but he's going to be with you, and you're going to have him take the reading test. So that would be like the reading 6 plus, again, not accessible. And you can even assign him. So even though you're a math teacher, he can get the reading test, and you can give them accommodations and everything. And so then for you, what you'll do is, and I'll go ahead later and I'll cancel this, but you can either say test now. So this would be everybody's on Zoom. You know who you have and who's going to test. you kind of set it up while they're sitting there, and then you test now, and that will launch the test and it will put you into a proctor screen. Or you can set it up ahead of time and you can save the session. And when you do that, you can name it. And I would probably name it something like either the date that you're giving the assessment or which hour you're giving it to. And then you would save and exit. And then you'll later, when you're going to deliver the test, you'll go back to manage test. Here, I'll show you that here in a second. So let's say you gave it a name, and I'll just say, I don't know, like second hour, algebra 1, something like that. Okay. So, so I save and exit and give it a second. Okay. So then the next time you log in, when you're ready to test, like let's say you set all of these up today and you're going to test next week, you would go to manage test sessions again. And then under here where it says saved test sessions, you just ask it to show everything. And then you'll have to make sure that you type in the name. You can see that this is the one. Hopefully my picture's not in the way, but you can see that that's the test I just created. And then now all of my students are with me and I say test now. And then that will launch the test as well. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And if you need any other help, let me know, and we'll get this taken care of. Thanks.